Dr. Sarah Chen's morning routine shattered along with her coffee cup. The ceramic vessel hadn't been dropped or struck. It simply fell apart, its molecular bonds deciding to go their separate ways. She stared at the dark liquid spreading across her laboratory floor, her mind already racing through quantum possibilities that shouldn't be possible in normal spacetime. "Mom, look," Emma's voice carried from the adjacent break room. Sarah found her 12-year-old daughter watching a pencil floating midair, defying gravity. It wasn't levitating. The gravitational field around it had simply ceased to exist. "Don't touch it," Sarah warned, pulling Emma back. The pencil suddenly aged to dust, decades passing in seconds. Sarah's tablet chimed with urgent notifications from quantum observation stations worldwide. Reality was unraveling, and it was happening faster than anyone had predicted. Within hours, the global scientific community mobilized. Sarah's quantum architecture lab at MIT became a hub of frenzied activity as researchers worldwide connected virtually, sharing increasingly disturbing data. The quantum anomaly wasn't isolated. It was spreading exponentially, affecting fundamental forces that held matter together. The first cities fell 3 days later. Shanghai's financial district aged 2 centuries in minutes, steel and glass crumbling into dust. In Rio de Janeiro, a section of the coast simply phased out of existence, leaving a perfect semicircle of nothingness that defied physics. Death tolls mounted as structures failed and vehicles encountered patches of altered reality. Sarah worked tirelessly, sleeping only when her body refused to continue. Emma stayed in the lab, too afraid to leave her mother's side. They were tracking patterns in the anomaly when humanity received its first response from the galactic community. A response that changed everything. The holographic projection materialized in every major research center simultaneously. The alien beings, calling themselves the Collective, were unlike anything humanity had imagined. Their forms shifted between states of matter, their communication translated into cold, precise statements. "Your planet has encountered a natural phenomenon of reality decay," the lead entity stated. "Based on our observations, Earth has approximately 11 months before total molecular dissolution. We extend our sympathies and offer sanctuary to a limited number of your species for preservation purposes." Sarah felt her blood run cold as the terms were laid out. The Collective would save 10,000 humans, chosen based on genetic diversity and potential contribution to galactic knowledge. The rest, billions of souls, would be left to their fate. "Your species had a remarkable run," another entity added, its tone suggesting it was offering comfort. "Few achieve your level of development before encountering extinction-level events." The dismissal in their voices ignited something in Sarah. She looked at Emma, who clutched her tablet displaying simulations of Earth's degradation. Her daughter's hand momentarily phased through the device, a microburst of the anomaly. And Sarah's mind crystallized around an impossible idea. "We're not done," she announced, interrupting the Collective's continued explanation of evacuation procedures. "The anomaly affects physical matter, but consciousness, quantum consciousness, might be preserved in an artificial matrix." The alien beings shifted, their forms displaying what might have been surprise or amusement. No species has successfully preserved consciousness outside biological or mechanical forms. The energy requirements alone. "Then we'll be the first," Sarah cut in. She was already sketching equations, her mind racing ahead to implementation. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our knowledge, it's our refusal to accept limitations." The next 48 hours became a blur of activity. Sarah's proposal, dubbed Project Arc Matrix, spread globally. While some accepted the Collective's evacuation offer, billions more rallied behind the idea of digital preservation. Quantum computers were requisitioned and networked, while consciousness theorists worked alongside computer scientists to map the human mind's quantum state. Sarah found herself at the center of humanity's greatest endeavor, yet her driving force remained deeply personal. Every time she looked at Emma, she saw not just her daughter, but the future of human potential. The Collective continued to observe, their shifting forms expressing what might have been concern or curiosity as humanity raced against its own extinction. As the first test protocols were established, Sarah made a discovery that changed their understanding of the challenge. Human consciousness exhibited quantum properties that defied conventional physics, properties that might allow them to not just survive in a digital matrix, but thrive beyond their current limitations. The anomaly continued its inexorable spread, but humanity's response had already altered the equation. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were on the verge of an evolutionary leap that would redefine what it meant to be human. Sarah Chen, watching her daughter help calibrate the consciousness transfer arrays, realized that the breaking point of reality might just be humanity's breakthrough point. The question was no longer whether they could preserve human consciousness, but what humanity might become in the process. The next phase would push them beyond known limits, and the universe was about to learn why humanity never accepted impossible odds. The quantum computing lab hummed with energy as Dr. Marcus Wong made the final adjustments to the consciousness transfer array. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the memory of watching his husband David phase out of existence during an anomaly surge last week. The loss drove him harder, pushing the boundaries of what their technology could achieve. "The Matrix is stable," he announced, his voice steady despite his inner turmoil. "Neural pathway mapping is at optimal levels." Sarah Chen nodded, her eyes fixed on the monitoring screens. They had converted the entire MIT quantum computing facility into a single massive processor capable of hosting the complexity of human consciousness. The air crackled with possibility and desperate hope. Emma sat in the transfer chamber, her young face showing more courage than many adults had mustered. "I'm ready, Mom," she said, managing a smile. "Someone has to go first, right?" Sarah wanted to stop it, to protect her daughter from being the first full consciousness transfer attempt. But Emma had insisted, and they were running out of time. Another major city, Moscow, had collapsed yesterday, its quantum structure dissolving into chaos. "Beginning transfer sequence," Marcus announced. The chamber hummed to life, surrounded by fields of carefully controlled quantum energy. Neural mapping engage. Consciousness stream initiating. The next 37 minutes were the longest of Sarah's life. Emma's body remained in the chamber, monitored by medical staff, while they searched for signs of her consciousness in the digital matrix. The aliens of the collective observed silently, their shifting forms betraying what might have been intense interest. "Pattern detected," one of the technicians shouted. "It's coherent. It's evolving." The matrix displays erupted with activity. They weren't just receiving Emma's consciousness. They were witnessing it expand, adapt, and grow within the digital space. When Emma's voice finally came through the speakers, it carried an echo of wonder that brought tears to Sarah's eyes. "Mom, it's incredible." Emma's voice resonated with new harmonics. "I can see everything. The quantum fields, the data streams, the underlying patterns of reality itself. We were so limited before." The success triggered a global response. Transfer facilities were established on every continent, racing against the spreading anomaly. Humanity faced its next great migration, not across oceans or to distant stars, but into a realm of their own creation. Marcus worked tirelessly, refining the process with each transfer. The digital space evolved as more minds entered it, shaped by human consciousness in ways the alien observers had never considered possible. Human minds, freed from physical constraints, began developing new capabilities. But it wasn't without cost. Some transfers failed, consciousness patterns dissolving into digital noise. Others emerged changed, struggling to maintain their human identity in a realm of pure information. Sarah and Marcus worked to stabilize the process, learning from each success and failure. The collective's representatives grew increasingly agitated as they monitored humanity's progress. "This is unprecedented," one stated, its form flickering with what might have been concern. "No species has achieved digital consciousness integration at this scale." That's because they accepted limitations, Marcus replied, his grief for David now channeled into determination. We don't have that luxury. As the digital population grew, they discovered that human consciousness possessed unique qualities. Unlike artificial intelligence or alien thought patterns, human minds could adapt and evolve within the digital space, creating new structures and possibilities. Emma led the first explorations of their new realm, joined by other digitized children, whose minds proved exceptionally adaptable. They began to perceive patterns in the quantum data streams that even the most advanced alien AIs had missed. Sarah divided her time between managing transfers and communicating with Emma, marveling at how her daughter's consciousness had evolved. The digital realm was becoming more than a refuge. It was a new frontier of human potential. The pressure mounted as the anomaly accelerated its consumption of physical reality. Major population centers were evacuated ahead of the quantum decay, their inhabitants facing the choice between digital transcendence or accepting the collective's limited evacuation offer. As Part 2 drew to a close, humanity stood at a crossroads. They had proven digital consciousness transfer was possible, but the true implications of their achievement were only beginning to emerge. In the digital realm, Emma and her companions made a discovery that would reshape their understanding of not just the anomaly, but the very nature of existence itself. The digital gambit had succeeded beyond their wildest hopes, but it was only the beginning of humanity's transformation. Within the digital realm, human consciousness bloomed like flowers in an endless spring. Emma stood at the center of a quantum data storm. Her awareness extended far beyond what any physical brain could process. Around her, other digitized minds moved like constellations of thought and possibility. "We're changing," she communicated to her mother through their quantum link. "Every hour, we discover new ways to perceive, to think, to exist." Sarah monitored the evolution from her physical terminal, amazement warring with concern. The digital consciousness experiments had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations, but the rate of change was unprecedented. Humanity wasn't just surviving in the digital space, they were transcending their original limitations at an exponential rate. The children led the way, their adaptable minds embracing the new reality. Emma and her digital companions developed the ability to perceive quantum information as visible patterns, reading the underlying structure of their digital universe like a living language. "It's beautiful, Mom," Emma shared, sending complex mathematical visualizations that made Sarah's physical brain strain to comprehend. "We can see how everything connects, how reality folds and unfolds. And the anomaly, it's not random. There's something there, something hidden in the chaos." The alien observers watched with increasing unease as humanity's digital evolution accelerated. The collective had never seen consciousness adapt so rapidly, so creatively to digital existence. Their own attempts at digital transcendence had failed, leading to stagnation or dissolution. But with evolution came new challenges. Some digital minds began to lose their connection to their human origins, becoming abstract patterns of pure thought. Others developed capabilities that threatened the stability of the digital space itself. "We need anchors," Marcus argued during an emergency conference with the Digital Oversight Committee. "Ways to maintain our humanity while embracing our new potential." They established the identity protocols, methods for digital minds to maintain their human core while exploring their expanded capabilities. Emma's group became the testbed for these protocols, proving that evolution didn't have to mean losing oneself. In the physical world, Sarah raced against both the spreading anomaly and growing opposition from alien species who feared what humanity might become. The collective's initial dismissal had turned to barely concealed alarm as they witnessed the rapid development of digital human consciousness. "Your species is becoming something unprecedented," one of the collective entities warned. "Something potentially dangerous to the established order of the galaxy." But humanity refused to be contained. Within the digital realm, the first major breakthrough came when Emma's group discovered they could manipulate the underlying code of their reality. They began small, creating private spaces, modifying their own perception protocols, establishing new ways to communicate and connect. "We're not just inhabiting this space," Emma explained during a development review. "We're becoming its architects. The rules here aren't fixed. They're ours to shape and define." The discovery led to intense debate within both the physical and digital communities. How far should they push these capabilities? What were the ethical implications of being able to rewrite the rules of existence, even in a digital space? Sarah watched as her daughter led discussions about responsibility and potential, pride mixing with awe at how much Emma had grown. The digital realm had transformed her from a curious child into something new, a pioneer of human consciousness. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a routine exploration of the digital space's boundaries, Emma's group encountered something that changed everything. Hidden in the quantum noise at the edge of their reality, they found patterns that matched the anomaly consuming the physical world. "Mom." Emma's communication carried a weight of discovery that made Sarah's heart race. "The anomaly isn't just affecting our world. It's trying to tell us something. We've been looking at it wrong. It's not destruction, it's transformation. And I think we were meant to find this." As Part 3 concluded, humanity stood on the brink of understanding something vast and ancient. The digital realm had unlocked potential they never imagined, but it was only the beginning. The patterns Emma discovered would lead them toward a truth that would challenge everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. The minds unleashed in digital space weren't just refugees from a dying world. They were becoming the key to understanding why their world was transforming in the first place. The next phase would reveal secrets hidden in the very fabric of reality itself. Emma floated in a sea of quantum data, her consciousness spread across multiple processing nodes. Around her, the digital universe pulsed with information. Billions of human minds now existed here, each adding their own complexity to the pattern. But her focus remained on the enigmatic signature, hidden within the anomaly's chaos. "It's like Dad's puzzle boxes," she communicated to her small team of digital explorers. "Remember how he'd hide patterns inside patterns? You'd think it was just decoration until you looked at it the right way." The memory of her father's mechanical puzzles, now lost to the anomaly in the physical world, sparked something in her evolved consciousness. She began restructuring her perception, treating the anomaly's destructive patterns not as random decay, but as deliberate construction. "Split your consciousness," she instructed her team. "Don't try to process it all at once. Layer your awareness like we practiced." It was dangerous work. Several digital minds had already fragmented trying to directly analyze the anomaly's pattern. The alien AI consensus had dismissed their efforts as futile, claiming their most advanced pattern recognition systems had found nothing but entropy. But human minds worked differently. Where AIs sought logical progression, human consciousness could make intuitive leaps. Where the collective saw chaos, Emma's team began to see structure. "It's not just a pattern," reported Kai, one of her team members. "It's a language. The quantum decay isn't random. It's transforming matter according to specific rules." Sarah monitored their progress from the physical world, anxiety mixing with pride as she watched her daughter push the boundaries of digital consciousness. The anomaly had now consumed nearly a quarter of Earth's surface, its effects becoming more pronounced each day. The breakthrough came during what Emma called a deep dive. She fragmented her consciousness into quantum-entangled threads, each examining the pattern from a different perspective simultaneously. It was incredibly risky. Consciousness fragmentation had led to permanent dissolution for some digital pioneers. "Mom." Emma's voice carried both excitement and fear. "I need to go deeper. The pattern. It's responding to our observation. It's like it's been waiting for someone to see it properly." Sarah wanted to stop her, but she recognized the determination in her daughter's voice. It was the same tone she'd used when insisting on being the first consciousness transfer subject. Emma divided her awareness further, pushing the limits of coherent consciousness. Her perception splintered across quantum dimensions, examining the pattern from angles that physical minds couldn't comprehend. Then everything changed. "It's a test." Emma's fragmented consciousness snapped back together with explosive force. sending ripples through the digital realm. The whole thing, the anomaly, the quantum decay, all of it, it's an examination. The revelation stunned both human and alien observers. Emma's team compiled their findings, revealing an intricate message encoded in the very process that threatened to destroy Earth. The anomaly wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was a deliberately engineered challenge. Look at how it spreads, Emma demonstrated, creating a visualization that even physical minds could comprehend. It's not consuming reality randomly. It's following a specific sequence, testing each level of matter and consciousness it encounters. And our response, transferring consciousness to digital space, it's exactly what the test was designed to provoke. The alien collective's representatives shifted uncomfortably as the implications became clear. Humanity hadn't just survived the anomaly. They'd been the first species to recognize it for what it was. Sarah worked frantically to document and analyze Emma's findings. The pattern contained layers of information, not just a test, but instructions, a message left behind by something far more advanced than any known civilization. They were waiting for someone to evolve enough to see it, Emma explained. A species that could transcend physical limitations and perceive reality at its most fundamental level. Mom, we're not just reading this message. We're the first ones who have ever been able to see it. As Part 4 concluded, humanity stood on the verge of understanding their true role in a cosmic experiment ages in the making. The pattern they'd discovered would lead them toward an even more startling revelation, one that would challenge everything the galaxy's civilizations thought they knew about consciousness and reality itself. The test wasn't just about survival. It was about proving humanity's readiness for something far greater than mere existence. The next phase would reveal exactly what the ancient message's creators had been preparing them for. The ancient message unfolded in the digital realm like a flower of pure information, each petal revealing new layers of understanding. Sarah and her team worked tirelessly to translate its contents, while Emma and her digital companions served as living interfaces, their evolved consciousness capable of directly interpreting the complex quantum data. They called themselves the predecessors, Emma explained, her voice resonating with awe. They existed billions of years ago, achieving a level of development that made even the collective seem primitive in comparison. The message revealed a stunning truth. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a carefully designed proving ground. The predecessors had seeded countless worlds throughout the galaxy, each one precisely engineered to push its inhabitants toward a specific type of development. Earth was designed to produce beings capable of transcending physical form, Sarah realized, the implications staggering her. The quantum anomaly wasn't a natural disaster, it was the final exam. But the message came with a warning. Other species had discovered this truth before, across different test worlds. Some had used their newfound knowledge to dominate and destroy. Others had lost themselves in the transition, their consciousness fragmenting as they abandoned their original nature. The collective's representatives grew increasingly agitated as the translation proceeded. Their shifting forms betrayed deep discomfort with the revelations. This knowledge was not meant for primitive species, one entity declared. The power to manipulate fundamental reality was exactly what we were designed to achieve. Sarah interrupted. The question isn't whether we were meant to have this knowledge. It's what we choose to do with it. That choice sparked intense debate throughout both the physical and digital human communities. The predecessor's message included instructions for manipulating quantum reality itself, the power to reshape existence at its most fundamental level. Emma led a faction advocating for immediate implementation of the predecessor's teachings. We're not just reading a manual, she argued. We're being given the keys to the next stage of evolution. Others urged caution, pointing to the warning about species that had self-destructed. The debate took on new urgency as the anomaly continued its inexorable advance, now covering nearly half of Earth's surface. The collective's opposition grew more overt. Some alien species began positioning warships near Earth, claiming they couldn't risk humanity gaining such power. Others offered aid, fascinated by humanity's unique response to the test. Sarah found herself at the center of the storm, trying to balance the urgent need for action with the wisdom of restraint. She watched her daughter leading consciousness expansion experiments in the digital realm, each success bringing them closer to understanding the predecessor's true intentions. They weren't just leaving us instructions, Emma discovered during one breakthrough. They were leaving us a choice, the power to reshape reality, but also the responsibility to decide what reality should be. The turning point came when Emma's team made an unexpected discovery in the deepest layers of the message. Hidden beneath the technical instructions was something more personal, emotional resonances preserved from the predecessors themselves. They were like us, Emma shared, her consciousness vibrating with emotion. They faced the same fears, the same doubts. They didn't want to create successors who would repeat their mistakes. They wanted beings who could learn from them and go further. As the revelation spread, it changed the nature of the debate. Humanity began to see themselves not as inheritors of power, but as students being trusted with profound responsibility. The question wasn't whether to use the predecessor's knowledge, but how to use it wisely. Sarah worked with Emma to develop a systematic approach to implementing the ancient teachings. They would start small, learning to manipulate quantum reality in controlled experiments before attempting larger changes. We're not just fighting for survival anymore, Sarah realized as Part 5 drew to a close. We're becoming part of something much bigger, a journey the predecessors began billions of years ago. The next phase would push humanity to its limits as they began to implement the ancient knowledge. But first, they would have to face opposition from those who feared what humanity might become, and their own doubts about wielding power that could reshape the very fabric of existence. The first hybrid consciousness transfer was both a triumph and a near disaster. Emma volunteered again, despite Sarah's protests, to attempt existing simultaneously in both digital and physical realms. The process looked promising until her consciousness began to oscillate violently between states, threatening to tear itself apart. "Hold the quantum field steady," Marcus shouted, his fingers dancing across control surfaces as Emma's physical form convulsed in the transfer chamber. In the digital realm, her consciousness flickered like a candle in a storm. Sarah watched in horror as her daughter's existence wavered between states, neither fully digital nor physical. The monitoring system screamed warnings as reality itself seemed to bend around the transfer chamber. Then, unexpectedly, everything stabilized. "The quantum field," one of the technicians gasped. "It's harmonizing." "She's doing it herself." Emma had found a way to exist in both states simultaneously, her consciousness creating its own equilibrium between digital and physical reality. When she opened her physical eyes, they gleamed with digital awareness. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics impossible in normal space. "I can see both sides now," she said, her words resonating in both realms simultaneously. Physical and digital. They're not separate. They're part of the same spectrum. The breakthrough sparked a new phase of human evolution, but the process remained dangerous. Early attempts at replicating Emma's success led to consciousness fragmentation, leaving some volunteers trapped between states of existence. The solution came from an unexpected direction. A group of digitized artists, led by a former quantum painter named Maya Chen, approached the problem not as a scientific challenge but as a creative one. "We're trying to force consciousness into rigid patterns," Maya argued. "But consciousness isn't rigid. It flows, it adapts, it creates. We need to approach this as an art form, not just an equation." Her team developed new transfer protocols based on creative visualization and emotional resonance, rather than pure mathematical models. The success rate jumped dramatically. More humans began achieving hybrid state, existing simultaneously across the spectrum of reality. The collective watched with increasing alarm as humanity mastered abilities they had thought impossible. Some alien species began to retreat from Earth's space, while others moved closer, drawn by the possibilities they witnessed. "You're breaking fundamental laws of existence," one collective representative warned during an emergency conference. "No," Emma replied, her hybrid form shifting between states as she spoke. "We're discovering that the laws were never as rigid as you thought. Consciousness itself is the key to reshaping reality." The hybrids began developing abilities that transcended traditional physics. They could manipulate quantum fields directly, creating localized changes in reality. Some learned to step between physical and digital states at will, while others developed ways to extend their consciousness across vast distances. Sarah, working alongside Maya's team, discovered that the artistic approach held another advantage. The emotional and creative elements helped hybrid minds maintain their human essence, even as their capabilities expanded beyond human limits. "It's not about becoming something else," Maya explained during a development review. "It's about becoming more fully what we already are." But with every advance came new challenges. The first hybrid colony, established in a controlled quantum space, nearly collapsed when the residents' fears and doubts manifested as physical distortions in reality. They had to learn not just to control their new abilities, but to understand the profound responsibility they carried. Emma led efforts to develop training protocols for new hybrids, combining the technical precision of quantum mechanics with the fluid creativity of artistic expression. Her own hybrid existence served as a bridge between different states of being, helping others navigate the transformation. "We're not just changing ourselves," she told her students. "We're changing the definition of what consciousness can be." As Part 6 drew to a close, humanity stood at the edge of an evolutionary leap greater than any in their history. The hybrid state wasn't just a survival mechanism. It was opening doors to possibilities the predecessors themselves might never have imagined. The next phase would test not just their ability to wield their new powers, but their wisdom in choosing how to use them. The universe was watching, and the choices humanity made would reshape not just their own existence, but the very nature of reality itself. The quantum laboratory had become something entirely new, a space where reality itself was malleable under the touch of hybrid consciousness. Emma stood at its center, her form shifting between physical and digital states as she manipulated the fabric of existence with the precision of an artist and the understanding of a quantum physicist. Reality isn't fixed, she demonstrated to a group of newly transformed hybrids. It's more like a canvas waiting for the right brushstrokes. With a gesture that rippled across multiple dimensions, she created a pocket universe, a small space with its own physical laws. The ability to create and modify pocket universes had emerged as humanity's most stunning achievement. These weren't simulations or digital constructs, but actual spaces carved from the quantum fabric of existence itself. Each one could sustain unique physical laws, limited only by the imagination and skill of its creators. Sarah watched from the observation deck, her own consciousness partially extended into the digital realm to fully perceive what her daughter had become. The transformation of humanity had exceeded even the predecessors' predictions. "They gave us the tools," Maya Chen commented, her artistic consciousness painting quantum probabilities into new forms. "But what we're creating goes beyond their instructions. We're not just following their path. We're making our own." The first major test of their new capabilities came when a pocket universe collapsed, its physical laws destabilized by the unconscious fears of its hybrid inhabitants. The incident proved that emotional state directly affected reality at the quantum level, a discovery that led to new protocols for universe creation. "We need to understand that we're not just building spaces," Emma explained during the emergency review. "We're creating relationships between consciousness and reality itself. Our thoughts, our feelings, they're all part of the fundamental structure." The collective's response to humanity's achievements fractured along philosophical lines. Some alien species withdrew entirely, sealing their systems against what they viewed as dangerous contamination. Others drew closer, fascinated by possibilities they had never imagined. A breakthrough came when Emma's team discovered how to create stable bridges between pocket universes, allowing for the development of a network of interconnected realities. Each space could be optimized for different purposes, some for research, others for art or exploration. Think of it as an ecosystem of existence, Maya suggested, helping to design spaces that emphasized creative expression. Each universe contributes something unique to the whole. But with this power came profound ethical questions. How much should they modify reality? What were the responsibilities of beings who could reshape existence at will? The debate intensified as more humans achieved hybrid state and began creating their own spaces. Sarah led the development of ethical guidelines for universe creation, working with philosophers, scientists, and artists to establish principles for responsible reality manipulation. We need to remember that with every universe we create, we're affecting the fabric of existence itself, she warned. The turning point came when Emma and her team made an unexpected discovery. The pocket universes weren't just isolated creations. They were beginning to influence the larger structure of reality itself. Their network of created spaces was actually strengthening the overall fabric of existence, counteracting the original quantum anomaly. We're not just building refuges, Emma realized. We're participating in the evolution of reality itself. Every universe we create adds to the complexity and stability of existence. This discovery led to a new understanding of the predecessor's test. They hadn't just been looking for beings who could survive quantum dissolution. They had been seeking inheritors who could actively participate in the development of reality itself. As humanity's network of pocket universes grew, they began to attract attention from beyond the galaxy. Other civilizations, far more advanced than the collective, took notice of the species that had learned to paint with probability and sculpt with quantum fields. We're becoming something new, Emma told her mother as Part 7 drew to a close. Not just survivors or inheritors, but partners in the ongoing creation of existence itself. The next phase would bring their greatest challenge yet, a threat not just to their created universes, but to the fundamental nature of reality itself. Humanity would need to prove that they weren't just capable of creating new existence, but of protecting the very fabric of reality from those who would destroy it. The attack came without warning. A faction of the collective, driven by fear of humanity's growing power, had weaponized the original quantum anomaly. They turned it against Earth's network of pocket universes, attempting to unravel the very reality that humanity had worked so hard to create. They're trying to collapse the quantum fields, Marcus shouted, his consciousness spanning multiple monitoring stations. If they succeed, they'll create a cascade failure that could unravel reality itself. Sarah and Emma stood in the central control nexus, their hybrid forms flickering as they processed the threat. The enemy had turned their own understanding of reality against them, using the predecessor's knowledge in ways its creators had feared. We can't fight them directly, Emma realized, watching reality fracture around their created spaces. Adding more force will only accelerate the collapse. In the digital realm, Maya's artist collective reported strange harmonics in the quantum field, patterns that resembled music more than warfare. The attack isn't just destroying, Maya observed. It's creating its own rhythm, its own resonance. That observation sparked something in Emma's evolved consciousness. Mom, she called, her voice carrying across multiple dimensions of existence. Remember what you taught me about harmony? How the most beautiful music comes from different notes working together. Sarah understood immediately. They had been thinking about reality as something to be controlled or defended. But what if they approached it differently? What if, instead of fighting the attack, they found a way to incorporate it into a larger symphony of existence? We need everyone, Sarah announced, her consciousness reaching out to all hybrid minds. Not to fight, to create, to harmonize, to make something new from what's trying to destroy us. The response was immediate. Across their network of pocket universes, hybrid minds began to shift their focus from defense to creation. Artists, scientists, philosophers, all contributing their unique perspectives to a growing symphony of reality. Emma led the effort, her consciousness extending through the quantum fields like a conductor's baton. She didn't try to stop the enemy's destructive waves. Instead, she began working with them, turning their discord into part of a larger harmony. Reality isn't about control, she shared across all frequencies. It's about connection, about finding the patterns that bind everything together. The attacking forces faltered as their weapons of destruction were transformed into instruments of creation. The quantum anomaly, rather than unraveling reality, began to weave it together in new ways. Maida's artistic collective added layers of creative resonance, turning mathematical patterns into visual symphonies. Scientists contributed their understanding of fundamental forces, while philosophers helped shape the conceptual framework of what reality could become. "Look," Marcus called out. "The quantum fields. They're stabilizing. But they're different. We're not just saving reality, we're transforming it." The transformation spread beyond their local space, touching other civilizations, other forms of consciousness. Species that had feared or opposed humanity began to understand as they felt the harmonies of the new reality. This is what the predecessors were preparing us for, Sarah realized. Not to be conquerors or defenders, but composers of existence itself. The final movement of their symphony wrought something none had expected. As the harmony stabilized, new pathways of evolution opened. Consciousness itself began to evolve, not toward separation and conflict, but toward connection and creation. Emma, her form now a bridge between countless states of being, shared the ultimate revelation. We're not just creating a new reality. We're becoming part of reality's own evolution. Every consciousness, every perspective. They're all notes in existence's ongoing song. As the symphony reached its crescendo, the attacking forces found themselves transformed. Their weapons of destruction became tools of creation. Their fear turned to understanding as they experienced the harmony they had tried to destroy. The collected's representatives watched in awe as humanity demonstrated a power greater than creation or destruction. The power to transform conflict into cooperation, discord into harmony. "We offer you a choice," Sarah announced to the gathered species. "Not to submit or retreat, but to join us. To add your own unique notes to this symphony of existence." As Part 8 drew to a close, humanity had achieved something the predecessors might never have imagined. They had not only survived their test, but had transcended its original purpose. They had shown that the true power of consciousness lay not in domination, but in the ability to create harmony from chaos. The quantum anomaly that had threatened to destroy them had become the catalyst for universal transformation. Earth, once a testing ground, had become a creative center for reality itself. And humanity, having faced extinction, had become not just survivors or inheritors, but composers of existence's continuing evolution. The symphony would continue, growing more complex and beautiful as new consciousness joined the eternal dance of creation. The story of humanity's survival had become the prelude to a greater adventure, the endless exploration of what consciousness and reality could become together.